So I don't know if this is. I was trying to find a good time to talk about my dream I had the other night. Um, I had ChatGPT interpret my dream, and it's funny because I was in my dream. I was um, I was driving in a truck. I wasn't. I was a passenger in the truck. It was a man driving. It didn't show his face, and he was driving me somewhere that I wanted to go. And all of my surroundings, all of the buildings were like red, hard clay. Like you couldn't even mold the clay. They was just like that artist clay where you had to keep molding and molding in order to make it pliable. And and then the road kept getting narrower and narrower and narrower. And so finally, the driver said, "I have to drop you off here. I can't go any further because the road is too narrow." So I grabbed something out of the car and I told him thank you. And I grabbed something out of the car and it was like I was grabbing my baggage. And when I looked back, I was dragging a garbage can, like a big, one of those huge garbage cans, the kind that's outside. And so I went to the residence and I knocked on the door, this clay house, and I knocked on the door, and no one answered. So I walked around the back, and around the back, the space was just so small. It was like a small uh, backyard, and it was a huge pile of red clay. And I just didn't feel, I was like, oh, this feels uneasy. It doesn't feel comfortable. So I left the garbage can there that I was dragging that I thought was my luggage. And I left it there. And then I turned around and I was trying to find the main road. And I was like, does anyone know where the main road is? Does anyone know where the main road is? And so these women were walking by and they were covered in blankets, and all of their children were walking behind them covered in blankets, and they weren't talking. They didn't say anything at all. And I was like, can anyone show me the main road? I just kept asking, and all of a sudden this lively little boy came up and he was like, well, there's the main road over there, and he pointed. And I looked and it was the only place around that had green tall grass. And I was like, well, I can't go through that. The grass is too tall. It was like way above my head. And he goes, well, that's where the main road is. And then I woke up. So I don't have my notes here, but I had ChatGPT interpret my dream, and it was like, so the red buildings, or the red clay buildings that was so hard and red and, like dry looking, and the road getting narrower and narrower was like, I'm throwing myself right back into, although I'm here in South Carolina um, trying to go through my storage and clean everything out so that I can get everything, like start transitioning over to Spain permanently. And I threw myself back into a 13-week traveling assignment at the hospital. And so that road, and then also I've been second guessing myself, like, should I stay, should I stay, should I stay? Because it's, like when you're around family, it's hard to, be separated from family. You're just kind of having so much fun. And so the road getting narrower and narrower, and me going into that very small backyard was like saying that I'm throwing myself back into a situation that's leading me nowhere, really. Like there's no growth in what I'm doing right now. So, although, I said I was like thinking twice. And so me on the road, like when I went back to try to find the main road, and the women that were there covered with their children that were walking, and they weren't responding to me when I was like, well, where's the main road? Where's the main road? I felt like, people are wrapped up into their own, situations, their own agendas, although they want to help you, they're just, so the women that were in their, like wrapped in their blankets with their kids behind them, was like family, their families, although everyone loves you, and they're just wrapped up in their day-to-day duties as well. So, and then the lively little boy was, like when he pointed me to the grass, it was like, although the grass was taller than me, that was my fears of not going forward with, like what I'm supposed to be doing as far as going on ahead and taking that leap of faith and just going on ahead and moving to Spain permanently. And so the tall grass was like, well, I can't go through there because, the the grass is like too tall, and so that's me possibly lacking a little faith, in which I'm very grateful, and I'm very, I try to have faith. So um, anyway, so my sister was like, she had to think on the dream for a minute, and she was like, well, I think that in her interpretation of the dream was that, and I'm gonna do, because I don't have it with me right now because we had this fabulous celebration for my sister, but so I have my notes down as far as ChatGPT's interpretation, so I'll get that back to you. But my sister's interpretation was that the women and the children that were walking on the road covered in blankets, I couldn't see the children's faces, were all like dead people. And then the little boy was like my son John, telling me, well, there's the main road over there, like as my guardian angel. Like he's always going to be around me. And so I'm going to do the ChatGPT interpretation. Like I said, I don't have that with me now, but I will do that. Okay, guys, so this is the second part of my dream that I had. So now I'm going to give you the interpretation from ChatGPT. Okay, so it says that my dream was not a negative dream, but it said, your dream has a very strong transition and awakening feeling to it. The symbols repeat around one central idea. You are moving from one phase of life into another, but you are discovering that some things you thought were unnecessary to carry are actually burdens that no longer belong with you. Let me take my glasses off so I can see. A few symbols stand out strongly. The truck and being the passenger suggests you are currently in a season where life circumstances, obligations, or even destiny are carrying you forward more than you are fully controlling the direction yourself. You are moving somewhere important, but not entirely by your own steering yet. The driver stopping because the road is too narrow often symbolizes a point where outside help can only take you so far. Beyond that point, the journey becomes deeply personal and spiritual. You must walk the rest yourself. Okay. The red clay is probably the strongest symbol in the dream. Clay represents formation, molding, labor, and identity. Hard red clay specifically suggests difficult shaping, environment, or experience that have hardened over time. Red often symbolizes earth, ancestry, survival, bloodline, passion, struggle, or deep-rooted history. Because clay was everywhere, homes, heaps, surroundings, it suggests you are surrounded by old structure, inherited patterns, responsibilities, or emotional weight that feels difficult to soften or reshape. Then comes the most important turning point. You thought you were carrying luggage, but it is actually a trash can. This is extremely symbolic. Luggage usually represents identity, memories, experiences, and what we intentionally bring into a new season. A trash can represents discarded things, emotional residue, old grief, guilt, obligations, exhaustion, outdated rules, or things that should have been thrown away long ago. The dream is showing a moment of realization. What I thought was valuable or necessary to carry may actually be dead weight. The fact that it becomes heavy before you recognize it is significant. Often in life, burdens become exhausting before we finally see them clearly. I can't even read my own handwriting. You arrive at the destination, but nobody answers the door. That suggests the destination itself may not truly be meant for you anymore, or it is emotionally empty. The tiny backyard and inability to turn around symbolizes restriction, lack of room to grow, emotional suffocation, or a life path becoming too confined for who you are becoming. So you leave the trash can there. That is powerful. It means part of you already knows you must release something before you can continue forward. The woman wrapped in blankets with children hidden underneath suggests survival mode, silence, protection, generational pain, or emotional concealment. These women may symbolize people around you or parts of yourself who learn to survive by covering vulnerability rather than expressing it. The fact that no one answered you when you ask for the main road suggests isolation during transition. People around you may not be able to guide you because they themselves are hidden, burdened, or spiritually asleep. Then comes the boy. In dreams, children often symbolize truth, innocence, intuition, spiritual clarity, or the future self. Unlike the covered adults, the boy is uncovered and lively. He can still see clearly. He points to the main road, but it looks like tall grass. Tall grass symbolizes uncertainty, fear of the unknown, untamed growth, and pathways that are not clearly maintained. Your response, I can't go through there, reflects hesitation. The next stage of your life may not look safe, familiar, prestigious, or easy. It may look overgrown, unconventional, or lonely. But the boy says that's where the main road is. That line feels like the heart of the dream. That line feels like the heart of the dream. So in conclusion, ChatGPT states, the true path forward may not be the structured road you expected. Your real life direction may lie through discomfort, unfamiliar territory, spiritual growth, uncertainty, relocation, reinvention, or leaving old systems behind. Given everything happening in your real life, international transition, planning, creative aspirations, wellness work, travel dreams, and restructuring your identity around slower, more meaningful life, this dream feels very connected to transformation. It does not feel negative. It feels difficult, but clarifying. The dream suggests you are nearing a threshold where outside guidance can no longer fully carry you. Some emotional or practical burdens are disguising themselves as necessary baggage. Certain destinations or expectations may no longer fit who you are becoming. The path ahead will not initially look comfortable or clearly paved. Your intuition already knows the direction, even if your conscious mind resists it. Sorry, I can't read my handwriting. The ending is important because you wake up before entering the grass. That usually means the decision itself is still unfolding in waking life. The dream is not saying you are lost. It is saying you are standing at the entrance to a new path that requires trust and release. That is deep, guys. That is deep. Because it's true. Your dream was never really about geography. It was about release. Release from exhaustion, release from carrying grief, release from survival mode, release from life paths that have become too narrow emotionally and spiritually. And back on the trash can. You do not want to drag the weight of constant stress, burnout, sorrow, indecision, and obligation into the next chapter of your life. The road becoming narrow reflects what your life in the States may have begun to feel like internally. Constrained, exhausting, with less room to breathe or heal. My visions of ANDA-LUCI has consistently carried themes of restoration, slower, affordable living, creativity, wellness, healing, cultural beauty, meaningful work instead of labor, rebuilding a home rather than enduring a career. So that being said, guys, before I went to bed that night, I had asked God to give me some kind of clarity in response to my dream. Now, my agent who sold me the house in ANDA-LUCI, she was out for some health reasons, and I hadn't spoken to her in like 2.5 years. And that particular night, I got a WhatsApp voice message from her, and I immediately called her, and we spoke on the phone, and it was like clarity. It was like, wow, I got what I asked for. And I was telling her everything that I've been through with the house, you know, the damage, the pigeons coming in, and then just, you know, all the trials and tribulations that I've had with the poor management and the builders, and just one issue after the other. And I told her that I was actually thinking about selling the house, and she was like, oh, I'm so glad that you didn't. That very next day, I was speaking to my sister about my dream and about the call that I had gotten from her. And she voiced me again through WhatsApp, and I immediately called her, and she was like, she found someone that could take care of my issues for me right now, and why not do it now before I get there? And everything just, like with that clarity, just fell right in place for what I was trying to seek clarity on. And so, yeah, my dream was pretty close to what I had interpreted, what my sister had interpreted it, and then what ChatGPT had interpreted. So, yeah, it's a positive dream, and it does align with everything internally what I have been suffering and going through. So, that being said, I will be, God willing, making my move in August. Unfortunately, I've had a couple of setbacks. I did an international wire, which I've never had a problem before. I did an international wire with a large sum of money, and has not reached my Spain account yet. So I got the confirmation number, checked to make sure it was, you know, everything was done correct, and it was. So I'm just hoping that it's just slower because of the holiday time, and you know, hopefully, you know, I won't have any issue. But it's just really second guesses because I've never had a problem with transferring large sums of money before. So that being said, I still have a lot of work to do on the house. I want to get over there and get everything going, get it done, so that I can start doing my creative life stays. I have been speaking with a bunch of artists, musicians, all genres of art, and I have a bunch of yeses for my master classes. So I'm very excited about getting this started. Yeah, it's all in the process of healing. I'm also planning on doing, you know, my other tours as well. So, yeah, everything's a step by step. But first things first, we got to get that house completely done, and we'll go from there. So I will definitely keep you guys posted. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, and thanks for watching.